嗨，大家好！有幸参观了宾州 Pennsylvania 的 Threefold Farm 的 Pawpaw 果园，在那里跟他们的主人学习了怎么样用来嫁接 Pawpaw。
We've grafted anywhere from like pencil size up to maybe a half-inch caliper, up to about that size.
So the graft was
The graft on these was very low because they grafted them as really small plants. We got them in little 4-inch, so they grafted almost at ground level. That's why you don't see. Prune them like you would prune peaches. So peaches look like a vase out.
Yeah.
Because pawpaws want to be a pyramid shape. They want to go up. So we tend to encourage them. You can see this was shooting up. So we encouraged it to go out. Going straight up. This was the central leader, so we cut that out and are going to keep encouraging it to go spread out this way.
So do you think when is a good time to prune them?
We prune them after kind of the danger of the really cold weather has passed. So March, kind of mid-March onwards. Maybe early April, right before they kind of break, right before they flower, or even sometimes during. Yeah, even sometimes while they're flowering, or right before the flower buds open.
But the flower bud already set this year, right?
This
for
year,
next year. Do you notice that 1 year they will produce lots and the second year is not?
I don't know. I haven't seen a big difference in one or the other. I haven't seen a big difference. We had some trees in the back, our older trees that are much bigger than this. They bore a lot this year, so we'll see if that impacts next year or not.
So the original fruit is different?
Unless the leaves, yeah. So the rootstock is usually these little small pawpaws.
Oh, you mean this one?
Yeah, that's what they look like in the wild, smaller pawpaws.
Okay.
In order for the graft to heal properly. So apples and pears and that sort of thing, they can heal, they can form callus tissue when it's cooler.
Okay.
Pawpaws and persimmons pretty much have to be actively growing. We'll cut, like for persimmons, some of these took, and then some of these had grafts so these grafts didn't take or had some that broke off. So this is what we graft on. So we'll cut the whole tree off here, put this little stick on there with just 2 buds.
Oh, 2 buds.
I always like to have 2 just as backup. So we'll make an incision in there, put it in, wrap it up. There's lots of information online. Tape it up and cover it with the parafilm.
So this one was die, right? This one survived.
So this one didn't survive. This was probably the rootstock coming back.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, we flagged this one because we had a bad windstorm too afterwards. When this might have started to grow, and then a windstorm might have snapped off the graft.
So how many shoot are you graft on this branch? Only this one?
Sometimes 2 on something this size. Graft 2 just to have 2 chances.
Okay, so this one was worked? Oh no,
none of them. I don't think any of them. That one might have. One of them, I think. Well, actually, that one looks.
I don't know. It looks
that one looks like it. Actually, doesn't it? Yeah. The bark. So they call it a bark graft or rind graft.
So you cut from the bark?
Yeah, we cut into the bark.
Put the
and
little pieces.
In the spring it peels back very easily.
Okay, and then slice one side or 2 sides?
Kind of both.
Both sides?
Or we'll cut. This is too short a piece almost. We'd like to have it like about 1 inch below.
Okay.
And then we cut a long slice.
A long slice.
And then we will scrape a little bit of the bark back until it's green on the back.
Okay.
And stick it in, and we'll often make a little incision into the cambium on one side of this to expose more of the green before we slip it in. And we tape it. And this is all we pre-tape this too. So we wrap parafilm around it.
Before
we graft it. Yeah, to keep it from
graft it.
To keep it from drying out.
The whole thing was wrapped?
except for the cut portion. And then stick it in and then put a rubber band on it and then wrap the whole thing, the whole exposed portion in parafilm. That way it keeps everything from drying out.
How thick is perfect for the grafting? Do you think this thick is too thick?
No, I don't think it's too thick.
Okay.
So a lot of them, you can see. So like this
one.
That's a successful one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was cut off.
Oh.
That stick started out the same size, but it's gotten big and fat. And it's by next year it'll overgrow the whole thing.
Wow, it will cover the
It'll cover the whole thing. Yep.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So they are grafted at the same time?
Same exact time. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So, and then we usually have two rootstocks in the ground, and we usually choose one or the other, or sometimes we'll let them grow up side by side. Do something like this and let it, graft on both sides, or if you only have one stem on both sides. It's just, if you're not very good at grafting like me,
you did a great job.
I get pretty good take now. I could probably get away with just doing one, but it gives you extra insurance.
Success
rate. Yeah. So if you have one or two that fail, the more you do, the better the chances you have at least one in the winter. After the tree has gone dormant, take a branch about this long. We actually sell branches in the winter too to people who want this. We'll sell a branch that has, or get a branch that has a good number of buds after it's gone dormant, and then we'll put it in a plastic bag, put it in another plastic container, and stick it in the fridge. That preserves it. So I would use it in May. No, not pick up directly, because you're grafting at the same time that the tree is pushing out. So you don't have a lot of buds to choose from anyways, because there's not a lot that are dormant. So you have to do it early. So I've done it, if you have a good refrigerator, 3 or 4 months is not too long in there if you have it. If it doesn't get too warm, you don't want them to start to wake up in the fridge. So there's 3 things you have to get right when you're grafting persimmons. One, you have to take the wood and store it properly, right? Because if it dies, you're toast. 2, you have to graft at the right time and with the right technique.
Like
mid-May-ish, when the nights are around 60.
Okay.
So you don't want it too hot outside because you don't want to cook the graft, but you don't want it, you want the nights to be warm so that the graft can heal. And 3, you have to care for it properly afterwards. So we graft on at the same time or before. We always put a stake beside it because birds will land on kind of the highest point. So if it has a perch here and a perch here, it'll perch up. If the bird lands on it and kicks off to fly, they'll break grafts.
That's
if it hasn't
really
healed. At this point it won't.
So do you need to cover it with like plastic to make it moisture? Like a Ziploc bag or something?
We don't. The parafilm tape that we wrap around it. So we wrap it around this portion and around the graft union after made the graft. We also have a rubber band keeping it.
So basically the whole thing was wrapped.
Yeah, not all the way down the trunk.
Yeah,
but just around the graft.
The graft and the branches on the top.
Yep. Afterwards, the bottom, because you're cutting this off completely, sometimes we'll leave another branch on, but oftentimes we'll just, take every leaf off basically, because we're cutting the top off here and here. And so what the tree goes into shock, and it'll produce lots of buds all the way up. So we have to go through probably every week and just rub them off.
Rub them off.
Till it's apparent that either the graft took or the graft died. If the graft died, then we'll let some other shoots take over, like that one we saw there, so that we can graft.
If the graft is successful, they just grow everything.
It'll grow, but then you can think of it like a broken arm. You can use your stake to hold it. Because in the winter and in summer you can get thunderstorms with crazy winds that'll just snap
off.
And that's what happened to most of the grafts that failed here are ones where the wind snapped them, and we didn't get to tie them to the stake.
Great information.
And we've made a lot of
mistake and then get success.
This is a whip whip tongue graft. So it looks kind of like a Z.
Okay.
You can look, if you Google it, you'll see it. It's just a different grafting method, and it seemed to work better. The pawpaws seem to like it more. We do have some bark grafts there.
The same branch also is the one that you store in the refrigerator?
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll take the wood about the same time.
Okay.
It's usually February or March, I think. Before the tree starts to wake up, we like to cut them, so they're still very dormant. So here's an example of a bark graft there. It did pretty well. This is probably another. Oh, this is a whip tongue.
You try different methods.
It looks cleaner, here, but this will overgrow this within probably a year. It just depends on the size. So this was probably a much smaller caliper, probably maybe this size in the spring. So you can't bark graft on that. There's not enough space.
So bark graft need more bigger.
Yeah, you probably need close to, I don't know, a half an inch ish.
So how many years you graft this from last year?
This was grafted this spring.
This spring?
Yeah, all the ones we saw over there were grafted this spring.
Okay.
So it's a good amount of growth in 1 year. So these root stocks have been in here probably 2 years.
Oh, you already grow them
we grow up 1 year, at least 1 year, and maybe another one. So it's been here a little while.
So you bring the rootstock first and make them grow for 1 year, and
at
the second year. Okay.
At least a year, and you can see how well they do. We had some that did well this year, and we had some that suffered because it was a very hot, dry summer. So.
Okay. Wow, lots of good information. Great.